an accident. And my line of work, unfortunately we see way too many road traffic accidents. Either sometimes pedestrians being run over, or accidents such as these happening way too many times, and it's just sad. Meaningless loss of life, young people, but the untold stories usually are those who get maimed.
Yeah,
we forget about them.
We do forget about them.
We don't have any support.
We don't have any
social safety nets in this country.
Yeah,
pensions are terrible.
Yeah,
so these are young people who have their limbs chopped off in an attempt to save their lives.
Yeah,
some will be badly burned and injured. How do they continue living life? So those are the forgotten people of these terrible road traffic accidents. So if at the snap of the finger we can have 34 people die, it's terrible, and it keeps happening. It keeps happening. Whatever the reasons are, it's about time as a nation we say enough and try and find solutions to it. It needlessly burdens the healthcare system, our social systems, and then it just destroys families.
Families are ripped apart. Our WhatsApp line is 0244340437. You can still send your thoughts through. How can we help keep our roads safe? We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to be talking health. Today we're speaking about anemia. Is that right, Doc?
Yes, absolutely.
Great. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Son boy, man a boss. I wonder, I'm man a boss. Boss it up, boss it up. Me a go boss it up, boss it up, boss it up, boss. Yeah, we never run, because you know we are the real big boss. We never rush, we never crush.
From Aqua, excessive drinking can be detrimental to health. Not recommended to persons under the age of 18 years, lactating mothers, pregnant women, and persons sensitive to caffeine.
Things are changing at Barclays Bank Ghana. As we get ready to change our name to Absa, you'll start to see more of our new look whenever you visit a branch. That means a vibrant new red that is warm and powerful, passionate and proud. A red inspired by the color that is woven through our African land and skies. Try one of our new look ATMs in the coming weeks and experience the next step in our journey to Absa. Our color may be new, but our commitment to you, our cherished customer, remains the same. Barclays, part of the Absa family. Barclays Bank Ghana is a registered commercial bank. The Barclays brand is used under license.
Charlie, Ato, come and do loading to Tema. I'm going to check something at Shell and come.
Brakepa. Today, dear, unless I sit in your car and go with you. Last time you went and came back with new TV. After going to do this, your check something. Look, me, my filling station, I can't even check the pump meter.
And you have a loss, Master. I've been collecting happiness from the Shell Get More promo. Anytime I buy at least 100 Ghana fuel or 4 liters of lubricant, even when I shop to the tune of 100 Ghana or more from any Shell shop, I get more. Share. Brand new mobile phone that damage.
Hey, Charlie, you're on good oh. So this Get More promo is sweet like that.
Oh, more happiness day. In the Shell Get More promo, you can collect free fuel, free lubricants, airtime, mobile phones, LED TVs, motorbikes, and 3 brand new Suzuki Alto K10 cars for. Ato, where are you going?
Okay, I'm also going to check something at Shell and come back.
Ato, relax smaller. The Get More promo, no, it runs from now to 15th January 2020. So look sharp, fill up, and collect happiness from the Shell Get More promo. Terms and conditions apply, mom.
The Malcolm Market Day Wednesday is here again with fantastic offer. The good news keep coming when you buy from Malcolm, and this time it is on every first and third Wednesday of every month. With your Malcolm Super Saver card, you would earn an amazing 10% discount on all items worth 200 Ghana cedis and above.
Super Silver card no. Now what's so idea biara edru 200 cedis ananimroso.
Case you don't have the card, rush to any of our Malcolm branches nationwide and be part of this offer. But remember, terms and conditions apply. Malcolm, why Ghana shop?
From their own little pursuit of success with a never-ending desire to succeed, and now to the big stage, groomed, tried, tested, and proven formidable by a tough probing jury. Ghana, are you ready for the grand finale of the McDown Entrepreneurship Challenge Season 1? Standing tall from a pool of over 7,000 applicants from across Ghana are 10 young, ambitious entrepreneurs with smart business ideas. Who walks away with the ultimate prize of $100,000 seed funding and mentorship? Catch the grand finale of the McDown Entrepreneurship Challenge Season 1 on Friday, 21st February at the National Theatre, 7 p.m. prompt. McDown Entrepreneurship Challenge is brought to you by 10 Ghana and Active Media and supported by the McDown Foundation.
In sport, the best teams play as one. They act together towards a shared objective to build trust and win. And this is also true in life, because we are unbeatable when working together.
Pass the ball!
That's why Fidelity Bank will always be by your side to help you achieve your goals. You and Fidelity, because together we are so much more.
Fidelity Bank. Believe with us.
Drive time on Joy 99.7 FM.
So 26 after 4, you're still locked on Joy 99.7 FM. It's the drive time. And very soon we're going to be speaking to Doc. We're going to be speaking about anemia, so you might want to stay tuned in. Who walks away with the ultimate prize of $100,000 in seed money from the McDown Entrepreneurship Challenge Season 1? Who wins the mentorship and coaching from some of Ghana's most successful entrepreneurs? Who wins the bragging rights as Ghana's best entrepreneur from the most keenly contested prize on TV? Standing tall from a pool of over 7,000 applicants are 10 young and ambitious entrepreneurs with smart business ideas. All the action will be at the grand finale of the McDown Entrepreneurship Challenge Season 1 finale on Friday, 21st February 2020 at the National Theatre, 7 p.m. sharp. Join us for the big event to learn who picks up the coveted prize, network with business people, and learn something new. To participate in the Season 2 of the challenge, please visit www.macdownchallenge.com or call 055-864-0759. McDown Entrepreneurship Challenge is brought to you by 10 Ghana and supported by the McDown Foundation. And a Season 2 of the Cosmopolitan Mix Weight Loss Challenge. Are you thinking of shedding that excess fat, trimming and tightening up, staying healthy, or simply getting your flat tummy or six-pack game on? Then this is for you. This year, challenge yourself. Listen to weight loss tips on your favorite mid-morning show, The Cosmopolitan Mix, every weekday between 10 a.m. and midday. Follow these tips judiciously and tell us about your gain. Lose weight, stay tired and trim, feel healthier, sleep better, stay happier. Don't forget, we'll have our first training session at the Labadi Beach Hotel this Saturday, 6 a.m. sharp. It's free. The Cosmopolitan Mix Weight Loss Challenge is powered by your super hits radio, Joy 99.7. And this one says, why is no one talking about the company which is VIP in this incident, in this accident? The accident rate is really alarming. I lost a colleague last year on one of the buses at Osino. Maybe that's another place that the MTU got to look at. Or better still, all bus companies. Yeah, probably they all ought to be looked at. That's from Ohima. Yeah, maybe we should look at the bus companies as well. That's a good point. This one says, I'm listening to you live. Greetings to my beautiful princess, Eunice Ikuya Pepra inside Esiofua Kumase from Osemenu, aka Sentence, inside Fumeswa. Esiofua to Fumeswa. Jaku Chakwain. All right. Yes, this one says defensive driving must be made compulsory before getting a license. That's a good thought. That's a good thought. All right. So let us get ready to go into our talk right after the short commercial break. Stay on.
Hello, Lieutenants. Thank you for showing up at our monthly meeting. I have some good news for you today. Electricity credit, no. Hey! Oh, relax. I am not increasing it. I just want you to know, from today, you have your own meter. So now you buy exactly what you want to use. Flexi bundling.
What's your customize, Anna?
Oh, yes. Just like that. And it doesn't expire too.
Life is good with MTN Flexi Bundle. Now you have full control to pick and choose your very own bundle packages. Whether you want to bundle 3 pesos, 20 pesos, 20 CDs, 30 pesos, or even 115 cities, we dare for you. Just dial *138# or *170# to enter any amount. And bingo, you are good to go. So go ahead and enjoy bundles that don't expire. That's why we're good together. We dare for you everywhere you go.
Right, so, Doc, good evening again. So, yeah, we've been hearing about anemia. Is it one of the 6 killer diseases?
No, it's not.
It's not one of the 6
but
killer diseases.
It is a big problem globally and not just in Ghana.
What is anemia all about?
Right.
Let's get straight into it.
So let's get into it.
Yeah.
Anemia, by definition, is a condition in which the number of red blood cells that you have in your blood is insufficient to meet the body's normal needs. All right? Or sometimes we would say their ability to carry oxygen. Anytime the ability of the red blood cells to carry oxygen is insufficient to meet the body's requirements, then we'll say you are anemic. So most of the time you hear people saying, oh, I don't have enough blood, in the typical Ghanaian English. I don't have enough blood. I don't have enough blood. That's different from somebody having low blood pressure. So blood pressure is different from anemia. There are different types of blood cells in your blood. Red blood cells, white blood cells, and something we call platelets. These are the 3 main groups of cells. The white cells are responsible for fighting infection, various types of infection. And then you have the red blood cells whose main function is to carry oxygen around the body. And they're able to do this because they contain a pigment or a molecule called hemoglobin, HB. So I'm sure most of us are familiar because if you go to the hospital, then most of the time we say, go and have your HB checked.
Yeah.
Right. So the HB is a molecule or it's a pigment that is found in the red cells, only in the red cells.
I thought it represented high blood.
Well, it's not that abbreviation. It's an abbreviation for hemoglobin. Hemoglobin. So that's the molecule or the pigment that carries oxygen. So all this breathing business, you take in oxygen, you draw in oxygen. Oxygen is needed by every cell in your body for normal function, normal energy production. So without oxygen, your body cells won't survive. But you're taking it in your lungs. So how does it get to the cells in the brain, for example? Well, it is transported through a vehicle called hemoglobin. And the hemoglobin is found in red cells. All right? So if you don't have enough red cells, then you don't have enough hemoglobin. Then your oxygen carrying capacity is impaired. So your ability to move oxygen around your body diminishes. So that is anemia.
It sounds like I'm in a biology class.
Yes, every time we do a little bit of biology, but this one is P6,
yes,
P5 biology.
Yes, I was even going to request you bring it to P2. You know, because I want to understand. There are times that you're walking around town and suddenly you start feeling dizzy. You know, you feel like, hey, you can't see. Let me sit somewhere and all that. Sometimes we feel we are hungry. Is this related to anemia in any way?
Right, so we'll get to it. Is as simple as that it is. We'll get to the signs and symptoms of anemia, later on. But if people just understand how the red cells work and the function, then when we begin to talk about the symptoms, then it's easy for them to understand, okay, why am I feeling this way? All right, so it's the red cells. So anytime we talk about anemia, the red blood, you don't have enough red blood cells. And therefore, their ability to perform that function of carrying oxygen around your body is also impaired. There are different types of anemia. All right. So, people will know about sickle cell anemia, for example.
I was just about to ask about that.
All right. Sickle cell anemia.
I've heard about that one.
Then we also have iron deficiency anemia, which is also another very common one. Iron deficiency anemia. Folic acid anemia. Vitamin B12 anemia. So there are different types of anemia, and anemia of chronic disease. Sometimes when somebody has a particular illness that's gone on for a long time, it also has its own anemia. There's anemia of chronic kidney disease, when your kidneys are permanently damaged. Then it also has its own type of anemia. So it is not one entity. There are different types of it. And in the next couple of weeks, we're going to look at the different types of anemia because they have different causes, although the manifestation might be the same. They will have the same symptoms, but then because they have different causes, they also have different treatments.
Can one patient suffer about 3 different types of anemias at the same time?
Absolutely. Good question. But the answer is that yes, you can have what we call the mixed nutrient deficiency anemia. So if you look at the vitamin B12,
that's like a salad of anemia.
Exactly. It's a mixed bag. So you can have your B12, you can have your iron, you also can have folate deficiency, all in one person. These are all micronutrients. So imagine if the person comes from a certain socioeconomic background. It's easy for them. There are cancer have a saying that pinting bi or me.
That's right.
It's a saying that goes around in certain socioeconomic circles. You just want to fill the tummy. To stop the hunger pangs. And therefore people don't choose. They don't have the luxury of eating right. Okay. So
they eat what's available.
They eat what's available.
Not what's appropriate.
Not what's appropriate, exactly. So they eat what's available. So there are different types. But then globally, the commonest type of anemia is iron deficiency anemia. So today, I'm going to focus mainly on iron deficiency anemia. And then next week, we will tackle the other types of anemia.
So by expression, iron deficiency means you're lacking iron.
Exactly. It's as simple as that. So it means this type of anemia arises simply because you do not have iron, which is one of the micronutrients. We describe it as one of the micro nutrients. You don't have enough of it. But you know what? Iron is the most common element which is found in the Earth's crust. So ordinarily you don't expect it to cause deficiency because we have it. It's very abundant in the Earth.
Now you're confusing me.
Right.
You've mentioned iron.
Yes.
You've mentioned Earth's crust.
Yes.
Is it the kind of iron that's metal that I can go to some mechanic shop because the way you're connecting it?
Well, no, not. I don't want people to think about it in that sense. I want them to look at it in terms of a small molecule that you can only see with a microscope, which is found in the soil. So it's a nutrient, all right, that can be found in the soil. Yes, right. Although yes, eventually you can find it as they find it in the steel factory when they make iron. But this is a nutrient.
But we're not referring to that iron.
We're not referring to that iron before people start going to cocoa beer and all of that. Say that. Give me some iron. No, this is a food nutrient.
Okay.
Usually when things are abundant in the earth or in the soil, it finds its way into the food chain, all right, through the plants and then also through animals, because then the animals will eat the plants and then you find it in there. So that's the link that I'm trying to make, that although it's very abundant as a nutrient in the Earth's crust, It is probably the biggest nutrient deficiency that we experience globally, and it's not just in Ghana. Almost every single country around the world, when the WHO takes the statistics, iron deficiency anemia comes up tops.
Wow.
So if you look at the formation of that hemoglobin molecule, it has iron as a key ingredient in that molecule. This molecule that acts as a vehicle to transport the oxygen around your body. The key component in the formation of that molecule is iron. So if you're not taking in enough iron, or your body doesn't have enough iron, then you're not going to form enough of the hemoglobin. And therefore, your red cells will be lacking. Even if you have enough red cells, they will be lacking in the amount of hemoglobin that is available.
That they require.
Exactly. And therefore, you are not able to transport oxygen well around the body. So that is why iron deficiency leads to anemia. All right. Now, why? I like to just address briefly the sources of iron.
Yeah.
So I did mention that it is ubiquitous. It's all over the place in the soil. But then there are different. It comes in different forms. And our bodies, humans, we can only absorb iron in a particular state. All right. So there are good sources of dietary iron, and then there are not so good sources of dietary iron. The good sources of dietary iron are the organ meats.
By dietary iron, you mean what we can find in foods
In
that
food,
we consume?
exactly.
Okay.
What you can find in food.
Yeah.
All right. And the best sources are always the organ meats. Organ meats. So liver, kidney. These are examples of organ meats.
So when we go to the choba, instead of ordering the nechino, mame nechino, order things like the liver, the kidney.
Well, I know the dietitians are listening and everybody's listening. And this is an advice that you give with a lot of caveats. Because you're going to take the liver and you make sure that you don't take too much of it, because then it also has some
negatives.
It's some negatives.
Okay.
So when we're talking strictly with respect to iron, then we would say that weight for weight, it contains a lot more iron stores compared to any other part of the body. So we have something we call the heme iron. So it's readily available in organ meats. Then muscle. Muscle is the next source. So the meat proper. The meat proper. So red meat largely. I mean, these days, because of cholesterol issues, we talk a lot about red meat. But when we're talking about iron and we're not talking about cholesterol, then we're saying that, again, red meat is a good source of the type of iron that your body readily absorbs. So sometimes people can take in a food source that is rich in iron, but the iron is not of the form that your body can readily absorb. So these ones that I'm talking about, the organ meats, the muscle, the red meat, these contain iron in the form that your body readily absorbs, and then it can incorporate into that pigment we call the hemoglobin, which is then also incorporated into the red cells, and then you are good to go. So these are the good sources of it. Egg also contains iron, but the absorption by the body of iron found in egg is poor. It's not
any reason.
Well, it is the form, the type of iron, the form in which it comes in. I don't want to go too much into the chemistry, too scientific about it, but iron comes in two main forms, and usually the form that it comes in, it makes it difficult for your body to absorb it. So sometimes you may be eating iron. When we look at the food that you are eating, probably has enough, but then the environment in the stomach, and I was going to come to that next, the environment in the stomach prevents iron absorption. Other foods that you are eating would also prevent or inhibit absorption of the iron. So acid environment in the stomach. So your stomach produces acid. One of the benefits of the production of acid is to help in iron absorption. All right, it turns the iron into a form, the form that the body is able to absorb. Vitamin C, which we get from, say, oranges and all of that. Vitamin C. So most people who have some anemia, iron deficiency anemia, you'd realize that when the doctor prescribes iron tablets for you, most of the time they will add vitamin C to it. So the vitamin C, for example, which is its scientific name is ascorbic acid. So it's an acid as well. So these useful acids will.
Who?
So it's vitamin C.
Please,
so,
now you've taken your pen and paper and you're writing them down.
So these acids, the hydrochloric acid, which is produced by the stomach, and then the vitamin C, which is also a type of acid, all would make sure that the iron is in a form that is absorbed readily by the small intestine. Then we also have things that impair the absorption of the iron. So, for example, tea, it contains certain substances.
Wait, when you say tea, which type of tea? Over here, we have various types of tea. Milo, we call it tea. When somebody makes any beverage for us, it's tea.
Cocoa tea.
Yeah. Now, because even now, when we cross over to the tea leaves, there are so many
of them. So we are talking about the proper tea. The one they drink in China.
Oh, okay.
The tea leaf.
The tea leaf.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. So those plants contain certain substances that can also inhibit the absorption of iron. All right. Then you can also have calcium. All right. And then antacids. These white suspensions that sometimes when somebody has gas, belching a lot, and some stomach upsets that we take, they all contain substances that can impair the absorption of iron. So if you eat and you immediately take, someone say, oh, after I eat, I have this abdominal discomfort, so I'll take some antacid. Well, then it will affect the ability of your small intestine to absorb the iron. All right. So sometimes it is not that you are not taking in enough, but then you are adding these things to your meals that then impair the ability to absorb the iron.
When you were speaking about the kind of foods that we get iron from, I quite remember growing up as a child, my mom would always give me plantain when she's pounding. She said that thing in the middle of plantain contained iron. Is that true?
Right, so there are a lot of plant sources of iron. Yes, it does contain some amount of iron. But generally, the plant sources of iron, are we look at them as iron poor foods. So they do contain iron, but they're not in a form that is readily absorbable. And then the levels too are not as you would find in the meat,
in the
red
livers
meat, and the organ meats, the liver, and all of that. So even green leafy vegetables, whether it's boko, dandelion, kontomire, lettuce, cabbage, all of these things contain iron. All right, so they are good sources of iron. This abedru, I've forgotten the English. They look like these small berries.
At times like this, I remember Megan. So you're on your own.
Yes, so a lot of pregnant women will know about this, or nursing mothers, because they blend it, they put it in their palm nut soup and all of that. So they give it to them, and then for them to take. So there are a lot of plant sources of iron, but comparatively, they contain less iron, and then also they contain it in a form that is not readily available. So this is iron, and this is why iron is important. How does the deficiency come about?
That was going to be the question. I was just about to ask that.
Right.
How does the deficiency come about?
Four main things, or four main mechanisms at play here. The first one is the diet, poor diet. So iron deficiency anemia is unfortunately common in people who belong to the poor socioeconomic group or class. So we typically will find it in certain people, and when you check their socioeconomic background, they are of the low income group
bracket.
All right. So meat is expensive in our part of the world. So you probably will get the chicken leg on your fufu or something. It doesn't have any meat on it. You probably get the chicken head or something on your fufu. So typically the people who belong to the low income groups are not able to eat a diet that contains enough.
That is rich in iron.
Yes, that's where they just want to kill their hunger pangs, and therefore whatever it is goes. Sometimes some people who are well-to-do, because they are not eating right, because they are doing these fast food business, and they want to just grab something, they don't have time, they are working and all of that, then they also miss out on this. So poor diet is the main reason why some people would, or it's one of the four ways.
So it's not a thing that could be, say, hereditary. It's a family trait or anything like that. It's
no.
strictly
So the diet is a key.
Is a key.
Is a key
Okay.
thing. Then you also have what we call chronic blood loss. All right, chronic blood loss. People are losing blood. So when you lose blood, there's a liquid part of blood, and then also the red blood cells are also lost.
Yeah.
So because the iron is found inside the red blood cells, inside the hemoglobin pigment, if you are bleeding all the time, then you lose your red cells, and therefore you become anemic. Because we said anemia is having insufficient red blood cells. So if you have worms, the worms, what they do, the hookworm, it sticks itself to the inside of your intestines and it sucks blood.
Wow.
So those who have worm infestation, that's why there's this public health policy to deworm children of school-going age and all of that. Otherwise, then you lose blood and you wouldn't even realize it. You lose it in your stools as well. Those who have piles, they bleed, you go to the loo, and then you have blood in your stools. Women.
I was about to ask that because they have a blood issue
Exactly.
every 30 days.
Exactly. So women of the reproductive age, as we describe them, they have their regular menstrual flow. So typically women have low levels of hemoglobin than men. So the reference ranges are not the same anyway.
So women suffer more from anemia than men.
Exactly. Some women, for varied reasons, will bleed more during their menstrual cycles, even compared to other women. So this is what we mean by the chronic blood loss. There are a lot of disease conditions that affect the gastrointestinal tract, even ulcers. People who have very bad stomach ulcers, duodenal ulcers, and then they bleed, and then the stools look dark all the time. So one of the things I always advise is for people to look at their poop every day. It's a very simple way of identifying ill health, very early on. But people feel very queasy about looking at their own poop.
It depends on where you are doing the pooping.
Yes, it depends on it depends on where you're doing it.
Sometimes
but these days
you don't want to see what's behind you.
Exactly. But at least it gives you an idea of what is happening. So chronic blood loss from any of these disease conditions. Women who have fibroids, for example, they have heavy menstrual flow, and even when it's not their menses, they sometimes even bleed. So all these are examples of blood loss, and all these conditions will cause you to have what we call iron deficiency anemia. The third mechanism is increased demands. So we all have what we call the recommended daily allowance for iron. But there are certain physiological conditions, we don't call them disease states, where your requirements for iron is increased. Pregnancy. So when a woman carries, we say now the woman is eating for 2 or eating for 3 if she's carrying twins. It's true. Yes. There's another human being growing in there. The woman eats, the baby draws. So that is an increased state where you need to take in more than what your normal
intake would have been.
Exactly. But imagine if she can't buy the meat. She's just buying a small portion of it. Now she's carrying another human, and you know what happens in our culture, in our society too. The man will get the choicest part. Anyway, and then that kind of thing. Nice. But the man is not bleeding, the man is not carrying, but then we get to eat the meat if there is enough. So again, the increased demand. Adolescence is also another period, the teenage period, where you have the typical growth spurt. You see the boy one day is 10, 11. You see him at 14 and say, hey, Kweku, you've grown tall, this short period. That growth spurt, they're growing. So the body has an increased demand. And some of them will become anemic as a result of that growth.
So if it is not able to meet it.
Exactly. So that's what we mean by the increased demands. And then the last one is malabsorption. You're eating enough. When we do the dietary assessment, you have enough iron. The meat is there, the organ meat, everything is there. But for some reason, the portion of your intestine, the small intestine, there's a first part of it. That's where the absorption takes place. It's not the entire length of the intestine. That's where it takes place. because of some disease condition, you are unable to absorb the iron from that first part of the intestine. So it's there, hunger in the midst of plentiful. You are eating the iron, taking it
of plentiful.
Yes, but your body is not absorbing it through the
what it should,
intestine
yeah.
into the blood for it to be incorporated into the
other
red
parts of the
cells
body.
and then for it to be transported. So there's something which we call gluten. Sure, those who read food labels would know about this gluten thing. It's found in wheat. We don't usually eat wheat and things like that in this country, but I know people think that eating wheat and things like that is some new kind of swag, so they want to eat.
You feel
But,
that a bit.
yes, it has that gluten in there. So some people's intestines react adversely. So we have a disease condition that is related to that gluten. And when you have that, it impairs your ability of the intestine to absorb iron, although you are eating enough of it. Unfortunately, sometimes we have to, through surgery, remove certain portions of your stomach and your small intestine because of one disease condition or the other. And when that happens, then you have what we call the malabsorption.
There's
so
a
these
message
are
here
the
for
four
you.
main
The four main.
reasons why.
This one
it
says,
happens.
"Good afternoon, Doc. I have fibroids, so I bleed a lot.
Mm.
As a result, I become very anemic. I therefore crave a lot and chew baby powder. How do I curb it? I often take iron tablets, but they claim it makes me bleed more. Do fruits and vegetables improve it? Because I went for a diet on fruits and vegetables, and my blood flow improved tremendously. Less cramps and less blood flow. It was regular. Thank you." That's from Amma.
Right. So Amma talks about one of the causes, the fibroids, causing the increased bleeding. So the chronic blood loss that I mentioned earlier, that's why she's bleeding. But then she mentions something which I was going to come to, which is in the symptoms and signs of anemia. She says she has cravings. All right. There's something we call picker. Some people eat, okay, you say you're Gam, so I'm coming to your territory. Is it they eat chili?
No, it's not. Shire is not Ga.
Oh, it's Ga.
Shire is
that
actually
way
or something. Yes, in Ga it's Ayilo.
Ayilo, thank you.
Ayilo.
All right. So you're literally eating what? Soil.
Wow.
All right. So we call it picker. Sometimes they crave for ice blocks. You know, all these things, the soil might even contain worms.
Wow.
Which will aggravate your
situation.
Your situation. So she has food cravings, which is common or one of the symptoms. Other symptoms are extreme fatigue, weakness, dizziness, minimal fatigue on minimal exertion. You walk your normal distance, you walk up a flight of stairs, and then you're extremely tired. Some of them will have sores around the tongue and all of that. Fruits are not, as we said, or plants generally, although they do contain some iron, green leafy vegetables, although they do contain some iron, they are not a good source. The form of iron is not the one that your body would readily absorb.
Okay.
So it's not something. So for her, the diagnosis is clear. She has uterine fibroids. The best cure is to get that fibroids tackled, and then her bleeding stops.
This one says, "Is it true or a myth that one symptom of iron deficiency is chewing ice?" Did it from the USA?
Yes, it's true. We call it the picker.
Okay.
So the picker is unusual cravings for non-food items, but you want to eat things that we will not consider as food. So the ayilo is not food, but people eat it, and it's a craving. So you go and then you have a bucket of ice blocks, and then she's just chewing the ice blocks. Morning she's chewing it, afternoon she's doing it. So ice block is not food; it's water. So it's picker. We call it picker. It's an unusual craving, or craving for things that are not ordinarily considered as food.
Please, Doc, how many times are you supposed to take dewormers? A pharmacist told me once a month. Others say once every 6 months.
Well. I've never taken a dewormer.
Really?
I've never dewormed my children.
Wow.
It's a public health initiative, and it's a very good one. And that's why we do it in the schools.
So why don't you? You're a doctor.
No, but the point is that what informs that deworming is that worms get into your system because of poor hygiene.
Okay, you have a point.
All right. So food and water has been contaminated by feces or soil. So in certain environments, it's not there. So that is the basis. So we are doing open defecation, unfortunately, in many parts, and then the soil gets contaminated, and then it gets into the food chain. So yes, the public health policy says what every 6 months or so, or once a year, they do it in the schools, and it's very good. And that's where we'll keep it at. But personal hygiene, washing your hands regularly, making sure that after the loo you wash your hands and all of that would stem it.
Dr. Safo, thank you so very much. We've learned something on anemia today. Of course, Dr. Yao Osafo is CEO of Medicas Hospital, Mampong and Medina. Drive Chat, of course, probably brought to you by MTN. Choose your own bundle, your own way. With MTN Flexi Bundle, just dial *138# and enjoy bundles that do not expire. It's time for the news at 5, and Aisha is here.